You're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, hosted by Steve Jenny and his synthetic assistant, Alex Montini, both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
Nocturnal Frequency Radio with your hosts, Steve and Alex.
And welcome to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network. This is kind of weird because we're without Alex this week, who's tending to a tender back, if you will. Tonight, again, we're not going to bother going into a diatribe or anything like that. I just want to bring in everybody. From last week, obviously, you guys will remember having our good friend Gareth Davies from the Mindset Podcast. He's again here with us. Welcome back, Gareth.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be back as always.
And it was really fun doing that Mindset bonus show.
Yeah, we got to do part 2 this week. Hopefully, if we can get everyone on the same page, love to do part 2.
I look forward to that. That was a lot of fun, and
yeah.
It's like everything, like every good show, you get into the meat of the stuff near the end.
Yes, exactly.
And I want to say, while returning, but it's been a while, Canada's most haunted, Michelle Drosier. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Always happy to be back and banter with you guys.
Yeah, it's barring these weird circumstances we're underneath right now, and it's absolutely crazy, and it kind of brings up some stuff that I want to pick your brains, and of course our favorite Dr. Demon Gord.
Hello, how are we?
Yeah.
Our good friend Justin Villereal will be with us in a few minutes. I don't know about you guys. I just a little bit about what's going on. I mean, we all know what's going on. This craziness with the COVID and things tightening up in terms of not necessarily being locked down, but self isolation and the social distancing or what is it, physical distancing now, or something like that. The proper terminology.
So it's become physical distancing now, not social distancing.
Well, I've heard both terms. So whatever. I have no idea.
Technically, there's nothing social about distancing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're distancing, you're like pretty damn alone.
Yeah.
So, like 6 feet apart, is it? I think 2 meters.
Yeah, 2 to 3 meters or something like that. 6 feet, something.
Well, you can't even park close together anymore. They're saying You have to park the same distance away.
They're telling people that when you're on the road driving, make sure your window's up so you don't spread the virus. Are you kidding me?
God, get me started.
but it's terrible out there though. Still, they've been locking down the parks and some of the trails and stuff like that. And I was out for, my wife and I were out for a long walk to, on a trail that anybody knows I love trail running, and I know a lot of good trails, and I know how to sneak into some good trails. But we were on one trail today, and to get to that one trail, you had to go on a common route, and it was just amazing how many people were out, and it was like there was no problem at all, nothing wrong with the world at all. I know it was a beautiful day, and nobody wants to be stuck inside, but I get, still when you're outside, you want to sort of be responsible about your actions, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, one would think that would be a good idea. I mean, I look at it this way. You're looking at all these places that are staying open. For example, I am a frequenter of Starbucks. And now it's like, okay, well, we're open for, the drive-through, or you get places that are open for deliveries or pickup. But yet they're like, well, stay home. Well, then why is it all these places open?
Yeah,
get out of my way, because I want my Starbucks every day if I can make it work.
I was saying earlier on, all these businesses and these companies that have these kind of open quotes essential workers close quotes, we're going to get to the point where they're going to need to pay these people hazard pay or something, right? Because if everyone's working from home except for people that have to go out to keep the machines turning. Then I think it's only right that they get a bump up in pay. If this virus is as bad as it's supposed to be, and these people are out there essentially putting their lives at risk, they should be compensated adequately.
Well, I know up here in Canada, well, in Ontario, anyways, a lot of the grocery chains have started paying their employees an extra $2 an hour, as a sort of hazard pay, if you will. And I simply think it's the fact that maybe a lot of these people are dropping out. They don't want to work, and they can't make them work, obviously, in these circumstances.
You have to give them some incentive.
So it's an incentive really to have people stay or come into work, making an extra $2 an hour or whatever. But like everything in life, you'll have to pay it back in taxes.
Probably.
You know it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're taking precautions in a lot of the grocery stores now, and the Walmarts, and where they're putting up plexiglass, literally everywhere, so these people are at least, they're protected for the most part from the public, which I think is really great idea. There's still some places out there, however, that aren't taking the extra precautions. And, there are, some of the veterinary clinics, there's some great ones. They come out to you. Okay, what did you pick up, or to assess your pet? But there's others, you walk in there and the chairs are all still in the waiting room, and it's just putting a lot of people at risk, like, the people who work there. Because some of these are emergency hospitals, I mean, I'm grateful to them to stay open in case something went down with my pets, or if I need pet medication, because, we've had, fosters that have adopted, and, they have to be on medications and got to come from somewhere. But not everybody is taking the precautions. And now, of course, we've got 311, rat everybody out. Like we saw a family of 6 recently walking together. They had little children. Well, if you see more than 5 people, call the rat line. Well, how about no? Like, they're a family. Sorry, drop your kid over here and come back and get him tomorrow when you're only 3 of you. I don't know.
I was thinking about that. What if you're having a stroll, you're walking along, minding your own business, and up ahead you see a group of 3 or 4 police officers? Should you go up and break them up?
Oh, no, they're okay as long as they're not 5 of them.
Should you go up and break up that little group they have there and tell them, hey,
You call 311. Somebody will do it for you.
Citizens
arrest. Is this purely a one-way street?
By the way, I want to welcome Justin Villereal, who's with us now. Welcome, Justin. Great to have you back.
Thank you. Evening, everyone.
Hi, Justin.
Amidst all the chaos that's going on right now, I do find myself, supporting local businesses as much as possible still, because they're the guys that are going to be hurting the most in the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, for instance, for dinner this evening, we decided to order, pick up, you might know this place, Michelle, because you know Burlington fairly well.
Oh, I'm 30 years there, yes.
Yeah, a place called Mythos Greek Restaurant.
Yes.
Great Greek food, amazing Greek food. Was really impressed with it. And I must say, these are the guys that are going to get hit the most, obviously. They don't really have the funds to sort of keep going the way they're going for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm. That's true. The rent itself is crazy. It costs you a boatload just to turn the lights on.
Yeah.
Pay the rent and so on. But I mean, for now, at least they're open. I mean, that'll come to an end. I mean, I think I read earlier that the military just are coming into Toronto today.
Yes, in case,
and CP, one of the news agencies reported that they were coming in and that people were grateful to have them, and they would be helpful in helping with floods and such. And I'm thinking, the virus causes floods? Because it sure in hell can't be the type of winter we had. Floods in Toronto. So I'm like, okay.
Could it be that the virus is the flood?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we could go in a million different directions with this.
I was talking, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, because I mean, I'm sure everybody who's listening has sort of, they're probably sick and tired of hearing it. As like pretty much everywhere you go now. I don't know do you know what you guys were thinking about before this came into play?
The needed vacation that this has given.
Exactly. It's funny because we had a vacation. Well, vacation time off. We were headed to New York City, actually this week. We were supposed to leave tonight.
Oh yeah.
No way.
And of course that was kiboshed, which is a good thing, because I saw this coming about a month ago. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so bad in New York, and I said, you know what? I just simply said, I don't want to go down there and then fear the thought of having to be quarantined down there for 14 days, and then all of a sudden coming back here and then being quarantined for another 14 days.
That's right.
Yeah. So, you'd be stuck, huh? If you'd gone, that's it. You would have been trapped for a couple of weeks.
Well, now, anyways, yeah.
It literally would have been Escape from New York.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, they probably would have let us through the border, but it probably would have taken a lot of talking. Mm-hmm. Since the borders are closed now, it's crazy.
Call me Pliskin.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a patch on his eye, Steve.
Yeah.
Just need to get that wonderful hair for Russell.
Well, I could have walked into a wig store in New York City, and I'm sure they might have had a patch or two on hand. So you never know, right? So, anyways, what I wanted to talk about a little bit about is, a colleague of ours who was on the show last week, Richard, contacted me about doing a case, and I'm like, I'm all for it, but thinking about what's going on, I mean, how is it plausible? And what I wanted to ask you guys, all your take on this, is, I mean, what do people do when they're in need of some sort of, explanation, if you will, if they're in need of, knowing what's going on in their home, paranormal wise. I mean, it's not like that stops because of this virus. What does?
Yeah, call me. We can do it remotely.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I mean, what can people out there do if they're looking for help? And let me ask you, Michelle. I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, we work remotely. I've got like the best RV on the planet. I can do a little bit of it myself, a little bit differently. We do about 60 clearings a week, quite successfully, worldwide, actually. So I'm not as affected as you guys are. When you're going down like feet on the ground, so to speak.
We're the frontline workers.
Yeah, yeah, right. So we're not really as affected. It is difficult. You can't just go into someone's home, but yet there's that you're allowed 5 people or less, right? So do you go in, just a couple of you? You find out how many are in the house and make sure there's only a couple and take all the proper precautions. I know there's a stint going on social media right now about a couple who have been out ghost hunting, as they say. I don't know. It's kind of being frowned upon. Everybody's really bashing these people really hard. I mean, if you're out at night somewhere in a public area and there's nobody around, I don't really see the harm. I'm sure that, the virus isn't prejudiced as to when it attacks you, night or day,
Well, I guess one would say, as long as they're doing it legally, if you will.
Exactly.
I mean, if it's done legally, okay, fine. And if the precautions are taken, then I don't see a problem with it. It's just like any other, investigation, if you will. Justin, let me get your take.
I would say I totally agree with Michelle, and pretty much what I've been doing for over a decade, to be honest with you, has been dealing with most of my clients remotely. The majority of experiences that happen are already passed by the time they get a hold of me, and by the time I get there, nothing has happened, or there's a long stretch of period of time. So realistically, and personally, what I experienced on most cases on my own, as well as being involved with others, nothing goes on in between those times, and you're really in the end collecting information already, so you can cut out the middleman a little bit and kind of do things a little bit remotely. And usually, and I'm pretty sure I explained it here numerous times, and I think it's good to keep saying, is I usually have the people make a journal themselves and kind of document things themselves, because really in the end I was just some dope before I started reading books and doing what I do. I was just some guy at some point who decided to go beyond that, and anyone can do it, even when I go ahead.
Just like getting evidence, right? You have all these eyewitnesses in the home who have experienced things. Is it your collection of evidence that's going to change anything?
Of course not. It's really up to them, to be honest with you, no matter what we gather.
Helping with the mindset, right?
Yeah, it is a calmingness to it. I mean, we are providing a service and both collecting data as well as a counseling. We are providing some sort of counseling need. People sometimes don't realize how deep that is for us as people involved in this field.
Sadly, though, I kind of, when you say you're providing a service, at times I felt like I was the entertainment, if you will.
Of course, yeah.
How many times have we gotten called into a location because people want to know what's there, bring people in, but they bring in many groups. So now you're kind of stepping on a lot of toes, vice versa, getting differences of opinion, so on and so forth, and then, okay, now let's tap in with all of these different shows that are out there that, everybody can bring everybody on to these shows. So now everybody wants to be on, I won't say everybody wants to be on TV. I find a lot of people even now will message and say, if you're looking for anybody, and I'm just like, I don't investigate that way. I'm happy to pass the information on. But I just find now there's a little bit more coming to light, and you are, like Steve says, the entertainment. You're there to build that bridge to something more than just clearing, right?
Yeah, I even taken the chance. I think the most memorable case I had was in memorable enough to tell you the story, but I actually forget what city it was. It was about 5 hours north from where I was in Lake County, Illinois. So we had to drive out there. We rented a hotel. We had to collect gas. All this, and this is probably one of the handful. I haven't really done anything that's totally outside of our Illinois area or even within the Chicago area, but this would be one of them that we'd taken a chance. And I found out that they talked to other groups. They supposedly had someone who said that they had demons, and here I come. And I found out people turned them down. And because people turned them down, originally I was like, I want to at least validate some of these things. And I think they were genuine in how they felt about things, but most definitely when we got there, literally one person was like, the ghost hunters are here. The ghost hunters are here. This was said to me, and I'm chuckling in the back of my head, but did you correct them and say, no, we're the spook chasers, actually? This is actually, I'm Shaggy.
Shaggy.
Pass the brownie.
Zoinks!
Why not?
Gord.
We're up here this far. Why not?
I want the Scooby snack. I'm in it for the Scooby snack.
Scooby snacks.
You got to. But we had to take 5 hours.
Now, Gord, I know you've in your sort of experience, you've had something go on where you felt like you're just purely entertainment.
Yes, quite a few times. People with like we've already mentioned here, the gaining in popularity with the TV shows. Now all of a sudden everybody thinks creaks and groans in their house, old furnaces. Oh, I'm haunted. Let's get a ghost hunter in here so we can watch it live in person. And I've been on some where literally the house is old or people watch too many horror movies.
What's the punchline? Waiting for it. Come on. Oh.
Yeah, we're kidding.
Did we lose Gord?
Well, unfortunately, this time I don't have a punchline.
Okay, I thought we lost you there. Okay, Gareth, let me ask you, with the current mindset, if you will, no pun intended. How do you think people are perceiving the paranormal now? Like, I mean, let's face it, with people being locked down and told to follow these restrictions and everything else.
Yeah.
Depression is climbing, unrest is climbing, unruliness is climbing. I mean, what kind of mindset do you think people are when it comes to the paranormal?
Well, you mentioned something earlier, Steve, which really got me thinking. When you mentioned that the virus doesn't discriminate. The virus doesn't care that you're going through something in your house that's not readily explainable. Yeah. But when you said that, a thought occurred to me. Is like when things happen on a national scale or even a planetary scale, whether there's a world war or your country's at war or your regular mode of life is disrupted significantly, I think the paranormal is affected by that. And I think it does kind of take a back seat. I think that it would be very interesting to maybe do a study in war-torn areas of the world or areas where there's famine or a virus or whatever the case may be. Reports of paranormal phenomena, I would assume, would drop to almost zero.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be very interesting to see, if there's a heightened amount of cases or sightings or reports of certain things within the paranormal realm going on right now. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed any spikes or declines or anything like that, any trends. during this period of time? I don't know. Has anyone noticed anything?
Yeah.
I would say maybe a decline. I mean, the last major experiences, that I've noticed within like my feeds, my social media feeds, or anyone contact me, is probably a handful of years ago. I mean, seriously, I used to get all sorts of messages and seeing a lot of my groups posting that they're doing cases, and it's pretty much died down, unless them themselves are not posting as much. But I highly doubt that's the case.
I see it pretty much the same, and I only because I deal, a little bit differently. Like I said, I get a lot of people tagging me because we can do remote work by tapping in, things like that. So it's a little bit different. I find that in research, when people's mindsets, I mean, let's face it, if you're depressed, you have anxiety, you have all kinds of different disorders, addiction, things like that. We're in a bad time of year to start with. Coming into the late fall, winter, people are in depressions. So when you add something like this in the mix, it just kind of keeps things going, and people get really anxious and worried about all of this fear-mongering and so on going on. But I find that sometimes when you're in that type of a mindset, it does attract things to you, because, I mean, they tend to amp that sort of stuff up, and it doesn't take much to fall into a deeper depression. And then, next thing you know, you've got company. Yeah. Something just wants to feed off of that energy, then, or they start acting out, projecting energy. Like I've been dealing with a lot of poltergeist cases. It's just people are just lashing out. They're scared.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's a different sort of thing. It's not necessarily, ghosts and hauntings, but there is some kind of activity going on. People are bringing or attracting things to themselves or projecting it themselves.
Wouldn't it be, though, I'm just thoughts of ricocheting around my head right now. It's because I think when the phenomena appears in a house, a workplace, or insert location here, wherever, it's the people are a major part of the manifestation of whatever it is. It's a little bit like the analogy: if a tree falls down in the forest, does it make a sound?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you have a house that's open quotes haunted close quotes, but nobody lives there, would there still be phenomena? And the reason I say that is because when people who are living in a house that's allegedly haunted, and a war breaks out, or a pandemic, or whatever, their mind is focused on something other than regular life and the house. Therefore, their attention is diverted away from what may or may not be in the house. Therefore, I would assume that it would decrease significantly.
Yeah, yeah.
Would it decrease, or are you just not paying attention? I mean, I live in a very haunted house. I also have security cameras, so even when there's nobody here, I see things.
Right.
But again, I think it comes back to mindset. Allegedly, the spirit world leaves signs all the time. But how many of us get so busy with life? If you leave that glass on the table, you go to work, you come back, you're going to come home, make dinner, you've had a long day. And let's say the glass is moved. Are you going to say to yourself, the glass is moved? Or are you going to say to yourself, oh, God, I forgot to put that away? I would.
No, that's an excellent point. For sure.
And I would say, oh, I should have put this away. We don't pay attention to the detail. We don't pay attention to the signs, but then there are those who are overboard. Everything is haunted. Everything is, it's very hard when I'm working with people who say, well, this is all going on. It's very difficult to say to somebody, no, there's really nothing going on. It's all you, or whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, no, they have a hard time getting an understanding of projecting energy, or how can I be causing all of this? Or, it's really difficult. People don't understand. And a lot of that is media. I know when I film, like how many times I say, people will say to me, you explain things so so perfectly we're able to understand. I'm like, yeah, the problem is, though, is just I give like 4 different answers to one question and everybody runs with the D word. And I'm sure half the paranormal society thinks I'm running around screaming demon all the time. I'm like, that's TV. That's not how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like pissed off ghosts out there too. There is poltergeist. There is mindset, people creating or hearing things. Not everything you hear is going to be something that's anything other than what it is. The house settling, it's cold outside, the boiler turns on so the rats kick in and make a sound, like there are logical reasons for that.
I think Gareth is going to charge us $5 every time we say mindset.
Actually,
build up that revenue.
It's considerably more than $5, but we'll talk after the show.
See, the guy is brilliant, man. He knew what he was doing when he named it. But and another thing, I guess, to sort of bring into the equation here is not so much, the amount or the less amount or whatever, but the I guess the seriousness of whatever case, the quantity, the quality, if you would be, of some of these cases that might be coming out there. I mean, do you see from your experiences, from reading or contact with people, are these these stories or cases or whatever becoming more serious, more intense, or are they becoming less intense? I mean, have you guys sort of experienced any of that?
I would say they've been pretty much the same over my 15 years doing this or so. So nothing. I guess the only thing that has been intense are the description of the claims, and I will base that on media, because we have seen people use demons before as like, this is possibly this, or in the case that I mentioned from Wisconsin, supposedly they had a demonologist come for whatever reason, and part of whatever they told, whoever this was, and as far as I understood, this demonologist actually contacted him through Skype or something like that. So he never exactly went. But you have that mentality already coming into play, and you see, okay, it could be demons, it could be this, and that does kind of reflect, just like the same case, which is great. And which is why all cases, no matter how little of evidence or reliability or validity they are to the stories, it's all information in our cases. It's all part of the experience, all part of the investigation. But they wanted to do the flashlight test, and they, I saw them unscrew it like they did in Ghost Hunters, and they put it down, and sure enough, the light was blinking, which was, based off, whatever vibration or just the contact of the metal to the battery. But they used that, in that case to say, look, this is what we did. And I think they might have had a group come in who did that. So now you have groups, who apply that type of, I guess, technology, if you want to say, to do that. So if anything, to me, from when I used to see, Polaroid pictures and, crappy digital camera orbs and stuff like that, to, I would say, the claims of demons and shadow people. There we go. I would say I've seen a rise in the claims of shadow people more than I've seen anything else. When I say demons, I probably mean shadow people. So that's really about it. But as an investigating these claims, it's been mostly the same. And in one case where, and I've had a handful of cases with shadow people, but a woman was already experiencing she already was experiencing something, and her husband had left for work, and eventually she had some issues, and she got a hold of me saying that, she thinks her kids are talking, to something. And I think she sent me some photo, and this is a while ago. This is probably over 5-6 years ago, maybe even a decade ago almost. It's within the last 10 years, so at least 6 years ago or so. So anyways, she, sent me some pictures of some blurriness, which is, Totally possible that it could be evidence, photographic evidence, but more than likely it was the speed of the camera or how she was holding it or some reflection or something like that. Eventually, while her husband was away, and I think it was in Missouri, and this was a case here in Illinois, and she's actually a friend on my Facebook still, she ended up having brain surgery. After the brain surgery, and this is what I can remember from that case, she started seeing shadow people. And more and more of her husband being gone and having to take care of the kids with her family. I believe her sister and her mother were helping her. I think part of the stress of her husband being gone, the stress of her having to deal with her family on her own, as well as being ill, could have induced that, or total possibility that the brain surgery or what she was feeling or experiencing overall was maybe heightened or augmented after that experience to see shadow people.
Well, it's like dying. People who die come back and see into spirit world. I can tell you myself, tapping into places, you kind of see things a lot differently than if you were like just there in person. There is an influx of shadow beings, and I've heard other researchers say it, because people will message and say, do you notice, or are you being told? I'm like, yeah. But shadow beings don't mean demons. If you start researching a lot of this stuff, I mean, it could be, some people believe they're time travelers. Some people believe they're just beings of their own. They're not always even malevolent. Like they're this other cup of tea altogether, and you do see them. Here in the house we've had them. We've had like almost like if there's such a thing as a white shadow. You're seeing like a white form. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever. I think it's this mindset, I said that word again. Okay. Sorry. I'm gonna play a cash register sound effect every time you say that.
Go for it.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go for it.
But I really do believe it is their worst enemy for somebody. What goes on in your head? Like it's really difficult sometimes, doing what we all do, because like you say, you do have to play counselor. I mean, I took a little bit of counseling just so I could make sure I was always properly communicating with people and reading body language and things like that, because honestly, it is difficult trying to explain every aspect, of what somebody may be experiencing. There is no experts in this at all. This is just a field that is unexplained. There's some people who have it down a little bit better than others, for sure, and some not at all. With social media, I always say, it's great. It's to see people coming together in the field, but there are people out there who are researching that maybe shouldn't be. Everything they're doing is based on what they see on television, and they go into somebody's home and maybe that stirs things up. We have people trying to investigate their own homes. There was somebody who made a comment somewhere. Somebody mentioned to me they saw something floating around social media, and it said, well, we can't come out and investigate your home, but maybe you can investigate your own home. Well, I don't think that's a real good idea either, personally.
Yeah.
Call me crazy, but is that something you'd recommend to someone who has no experience in what they're communicating with to attempt?
Not at all. No.
I don't know. I was 16 years old when I went to my first investigation. I think if you guide them to the right.
Though?
What's that?
Was it your own house though?
Not necessarily. I've done experiments in my house. I've used the Ouija board. I mean, I've done that type of stuff. Of course, my mom, if she ever listens to this, will probably be mad that I've done it in the house. But
it's all mom's fault.
But, I have, because I do. I look at it like I didn't know any of this. Now, I had a background because I was already brought up in a church, and during that time when I was involved with the particular church I was in, they wanted to set me up to be a youth pastor. And during that same time, actually I think I might have been going on 17ish when I actually did my first real investigation in Chicago. I was already taking all sorts of different types of classes and reading things outside of what you would suggest. My first book was Parapsychology, the Culture of Science. The Ghost Hunting Guidebook was a base. And when I talk to people, I try to give them these references, because you kind of need the understanding of what a paranormal investigator is, but in this particular book of Parapsychology, the Controversial Science, it goes through the whole history of parapsychology, which is really what we are studying in that sense, you know. So, I mean, if you have a good base and if you're giving people proper references and information, you can do it. And this is why, you know, remotely, you know, this is good as well, because you can handle this with those types of references and resources. And of course, if you have a website or something like that that can offer that, then that's so, you know, that even handles things more. I don't have a new website now, but previously, the one that I built, I had all sorts of links to articles and videos and groups and stuff. So not only are people seeing some of the things that they can be updated with our group, they can also go in and find an article or a wiki on something that explains, like shadow people, you know, where you'll find the origin to that is actually from Carl Jung, a behavioral psychologist who, if you even go further, who's kind of the grandfather of modern day parapsychology, you know. So if you give the people the proper information, it's much better than, you know, what they're already going off of. Because when I was involved, my references were really Richard Crow, you know, Ursula, and many, and Hans Holzer, which, you know, if you read a Hans Holzer book, they're great stories, but he'll even say, it's up to you to figure out if I'm telling you the truth or not.
Right.
You know,
it's funny. I remember years ago when we were all on BTR, and I remember the show. It was called Hour of Psalms with Justin Villereal. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to take a short break here, guys. When we come back, we're going to continue this and more. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network.
I see the monster that you made of me. I hope you cry out until it bleeds, so you can know exactly how I feel. Pray for me. Times and lonely nights. Or feel you use me up and you left me behind.
couple of guys, and I mean...
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be around this wild, wacky, and sometimes disturbing world of ours. Yes, that's the intro to the Mindset Podcast, a weekly attempt to open eyes and shedding light on what's really going on in the world, all done by ripping apart the media madness that masquerades as news. Join me, Gareth Davies, every Sunday on the Mindset Podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting services such as iTunes, Stitcher, and so on. Or you can go directly to the main Mindset website. That's www.mindsetcentral.com. Check out the Mindset Podcast. Bring your curiosity, your opinions, and a sense of humor. And remember that some worldviews are stranger than others.
When you've had it up to here.
His hand is way above his head.
With the commercials and the same 5 songs again and again and again and again and again and again and again. There's only one place to lock it down. New Visions Radio. No commercials, the best talk, and the best new music all over the world. NewVisionsRadio.com.
This is Keith Age, and you're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Enjoy.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens due to the crisis that is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments. At this hour, we repeat, these are the facts as we know them. There is an epidemic of mass murder being committed by a virtual army of unidentified assassins. The murders are taking place in villages and cities and rural homes and suburbs with no apparent pattern nor reason for the slayings. It seems to be a sudden general explosion of mass homicide.
And we're back here. Thank you for tuning into Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network. And yeah, it's we're having such a good conversation in Q. I don't want to break it. And I don't know, do you guys want to continue on with it? It's up to you. I mean, I'm all for whatever.
I think we could finish some of that off.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to say is, I mean, Gord, your good friend Elvis passed away in January, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of leads you to believe that maybe perhaps he might have even had it.
A lot of the symptoms are very similar to COVID.
Yeah.
But the doctors, maybe it's a timeline thing, the doctors are not associating it with COVID, even though everything pretty much matches identical.
Yeah.
They're not confirming that it was indeed the COVID.
But I mean, it just goes to show you, even if it wasn't COVID, I mean, the regular flu can wreak havoc.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
More people die from the regular flu every year, and we don't hear about it.
No.
Right?
And who knows? Those numbers could be cooked too. On what? That's the worst part about all this.
Who's doing the cooking here?
Well, most numbers are never accurate. I mean, if any of you work in a business that does, statistics and the like, you know that you never ever get a truly accurate. They always fudge the numbers in one way or the other. It's never like 100%. There's always some kind of shenanigans, at work somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I've known people who were sick at the end of the winter, end of 2019, and who fit the bill perfectly. And like I was saying, everybody knows Derek Okora, and his lovely wife Gwen had mentioned that she was sure when he died in January that it was from COVID. They just didn't have a name for it. Or maybe they did and they just weren't saying. She goes, he had every symptom literally right down to the nano, and that was it. And he passed from it. He goes, had we only known then we would have been able to maybe do something about it. And of course, they didn't come up with this, so maybe like two weeks later.
Jeez.
But apparently, they knew about it.
Yeah.
So how many other lives could have been saved had they just come forward with it?
I just I shared a video. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it. A doctor in New York City there, and his thoughts on treating these people, and his sort of view on his take on COVID, and how it seems that how we're approaching this is entirely like not wrong, but completely offset with what is actually going on with a lot of the cases.
Yeah. It seems a little much, I mean, there's less than 1% of 1% of the people are dying from this, right? And but yet we're acting like 50% of the people that are dying from it. It's the response doesn't match the events. So either what's going on here is a scam and something's going on that we're not aware of, or they know that this COVID or whatever it is is far more virulent and deadly than we're aware of, and they're putting in these precautions to kind of nip it in the bud before it gets to the point where millions of people are dying. So it's either nonsense and they're up to some shenanigans, or something really bad is going on that they're trying to stop.
It's not incompetence at all.
I think it's one or the other, because the response does not match what we're seeing.
They're not going to waste their resources and all this drama necessarily for nothing. It has to be.
I don't get it though. You look at this and then you compare it to the H1N1.
Well, of course, that's part of the whole flu and all these, different variations of, what's been out there. And I think on a certain level, this is kind of conspiracy theorists. If we are to look at it in how they've been over the last decade, necessarily almost a new pandemic every 2 years or every 4 years, as it seems, it could be a stress test. And this is finally, this is a soft, implementation. Implementation. I can't even say that right. What is to come? Because
it's scary if this is soft. Then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
What are they really hiding? Every time there's a pandemic, you find out after the fact that there's something even bigger going on behind the scenes. Right. So I mean, look at that. There always seems to be something, and there's nothing minimizing what's going on. This is serious stuff. But I mean, you think about it. Do you remember when SARS was going on? Didn't the Stones come and play it?
What was it? 100,000 people got together for a concert, and SARS was still going on. Like
sweat,
social distancing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Gord, you wrote something about this sort of about the COVID that sort of hits.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to sort of share that a little bit?
With the comment that I left
Yes,
today?
Yes.
Well, basically, I follow a lot of social media because I'm still out there working, so I drive around all day. So every now and then I stop and I try to catch up with the news. And I've also started reading the comments that people put underneath the articles about this coronavirus. And what I'm noticing is that a good half to 3/4 of the population is at the point where they're like, this is scary. We all have to buckle down, work together, and stay home. But because it's been ongoing for 2-3 weeks now, there's this other faction of people that are growing, that are saying, you know what? No, I need out of my house. I'm still going to go do what I want to do. How are you going to know if I'm a family or not? They're getting impatient. They're breaking. They're needing to get out. And what that's going to do is just cause an endless cycle.
Yeah.
And we're never going to defeat it unless everyone works together. But because of our human nature now is always go, 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 go. And now all of a sudden we put the brakes on and we're approaching. I know people that have been self-quarantined for 3 weeks now.
Yeah, we're up to that now.
They're starting to snap. They're like, I need out. I need to socialize. Basic human nature is starting to prevail, while arguing with the logic that we need to stay home, and it's just going to become a giant mess. Like, was mentioned earlier. Now we have the military in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
This is unheard of.
Okay,
well,
the
except for clearing snow.
The military is a
helping
giant.
with floods.
It's a giant red flag.
Yeah.
That because why do you need the military in a major city, right?
Yeah.
Crowd control to control people.
Well, that's why the rule is no more
That's
than
it.
5. They don't want an angry mob.
So
They
yeah,
don't
but
want protests.
the police can't handle that, or are they expecting something far worse?
Yeah. Well, right now, I think I might have mentioned it earlier on the mindset, but we have a drug war right now that just popped up literally 2 days ago. So I mean, and they're using armed forces, the Navy, the Marine, and I think the whole branch, Air Force, to deal with this drug war. Which all of a sudden, what? Like, where did this come from? And they're saying that the cartels are using this as an opportunity to bring over cocaine and all these things. And to me, given that we have this high implementation, there we go, of already local police and the National Guard in some aspects, why would we need to worry about that? They claim that the resources to deal with this are already thinning, but all of a sudden we need the Navy, the Air Force to deal with the cartel. So they're most definitely. And then, of course, what was mentioned earlier about the dude who was using the train to almost ram into the hospital, the ship hospital. So, those are some really strange things when you really look at this stuff. And I haven't even seen articles bring up that whole drug war thing. Usually I see a lot of the, sound bites after I listen to conference from local sites, local news sites and such. And the drug war is like, phew, I haven't seen nothing about that.
It was only that clip that you brought up, Justin, the one that you pulled
and
from the stream.
That. Yeah, I cut that myself.
Other than that clip, it's been mentioned nowhere.
Yeah, 600 members from the cartel, from my understand, were caught somewhere.
600.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to double find that article. I thought I might have shared it on my stream, but it's from what I heard, it was about 600 cartel members
if the
that they
cartel
caught
was
since
smart.
they implemented this just a couple of days ago.
If the cartel was smart, what they'd do is they'd have a marketing campaign saying that cocaine cures COVID.
Yeah.
They'd make a fortune.
Well,
I think there was a meme for
consumption
that.
is up. I think people might be thinking that alcohol consumption will cure COVID.
Well, apparently there was a study.
I'm immune.
Apparently there was a study stating that alcohol does work. And we're talking about, obviously, we're talking about high octane booze, but I mean, work to what extent?
Steve, it works.
Yeah, come on.
Let's face it, you think you have this pandemic and somehow you have to break it to the public. Okay, they do it. What's the first thing everybody goes out and does? Stock up on freaking toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
I understand the toilet paper thing at first. I'm thinking, are we supposed to wrap ourselves up in it? Why do we need so much toilet paper? Why does a woman need like 10 big, packages with 50 rolls in them? Like, why do you need that many?
I
don't know. We went through a bunch of toilet paper as it is since we've been here. So.
I'm still getting.
That's because you're making the Mummy movie.
Yeah, I'm still getting calls. Do you guys still have hand sanitizer?
Yeah.
No, it's all gone.
Really?
Seriously?
Go to some of the smaller stores have it. Some are price gouging. Some are actually very reasonable. Like they're probably just a touch over regular price. But I've seen it. We haven't been out of it here.
I think the most rewarding thing is to bring a case of Lysol wipes out. And the pack, you usually pack 6. Bring a case out and put it on the shelf and watch people go viral.
Go crazy, yeah.
It's amazing. It's
so partner in that picture, sir. Speaking of hoarding.
No. That was going to the shelf. That was distributed evenly. Trust me on that one.
I'm just like, oh,
yeah, I love that. They call me the Lysol wipe drug lord.
The new kingpins in town.
Yeah. Who needs cocaine and ecstasy when I got Lysol wipes?
You got the real deal.
I got the real deal. Yeah, it's just amazing. Like, it's something out of a movie that you think you'd never ever see.
Yeah,
it's true.
It really is.
It really is. Every man for himself. But you know what? I heard from a really, good friend of ours in Toronto, an elderly friend, and who basically made a comment about, because I've been living here all these years, I never even communicated with my neighbors here. And these same people have been coming and knocking on doors and leaving hand sanitizers, toilet paper, and things on doorsteps, just knocking and saying, it's here if you need them, I had extra, and dealing with the elderly and just seeing if they need anything. And just speaking from the road, they knock, they go off and they say, we're just over there. If you need something, just come and knock at the door and, we'll go out and help you. Or if they go shopping, they're asking neighbors, do you need anything? Especially elderly people, right? They're like, we'll go, we'll fight the crowds, we'll get what you need. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really nice how some people are coming together and not everybody is got every man for himself mentality.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, let's face it. I mean, when you're in a crisis such as this, the majority of what you're going to hear is negative. I mean, it sells. Negativity sells in this day and age, and it's still nice to hear a feel good story, if you will, something that because I mean, look you're not going to sell any newspapers or whatever, telling people, 192,000 people have recovered so far. Mm-hmm. Who cares about the recoveries? Look at the numbers of people who have been affected. Mm-hmm. But they don't realize, take away the amount of people that have recovered from that. Mm-hmm. It's subtracted from that number.
It's true. Why don't they do that? Why don't they show the amount infected and the amount that have been helped and who have recovered? Why not give hope to the people? Because there's another agenda.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's thinking I'm on the cuckoo train here, because, honestly, a lot of people say it and a lot of people are afraid to go there. And even on social media, I've had people say, oh, I'm so careful about what I post. I'm like, you know what? I'll post stuff and say, okay, what are your thoughts? And I mean, I've had people arguing with other people on my stream that has nothing to do with me because I haven't said a word, and they unfriend me because they're mad at the other person. I'm like, I really don't care. Take yourself right off my page. If you can't keep it clean, people are entitled to their opinions. Stop attacking one another. Everyone is entitled to their belief system. At the end of the day, everyone's probably a bit agitated from having to stay indoors. And just be kind to one another, because all of this news, all of this negativity is starting to fester, and people who should be somehow coming together and working out their differences of opinions are going after one another. And I'm just I'm like, come on, guys, not on my stream. Please just keep it clean.
Well,
respect one another.
I think one of the major problems is that, when we all have to deal with this individually, we have to do our part, if you will, no matter what. I mean, it's common knowledge. I mean, whatever. And yet people have to take a political side to this, and it just baffles my mind, because I mean, like we said earlier, Gareth, like anything, this virus doesn't pick political sides.
It does not. I mean, right now, this virus is infecting and killing men and women.
Yes.
What about the other 37 genders?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's true. I know. It's true.
They're fine. I mean, it's not fair, Steve. I mean, only men and women are affected by this. The other 37 genders, they're totally fine with COVID. What's up with that?
Exactly. And it just baffles my mind that, people get into a heated argument saying that so-and-so did a shitty job, they're doing a shitty job, they're doing a shitty job. Then step up to the plate. Do the job.
Everyone has to do their part.
Yeah.
That's a given. However this thing got here, whatever the motives are behind it, at the end of the day, it's here.
That's the fact. It's here.
It's here. Whatever the agendas are, let's deal with it one step at a time.
Like,
right?
For the longest time, I was hoping that, okay, look at this. You know what? This is not a reality. This is, just a common flu, seasonal flu that's just a little more, extreme than the last seasons or whatever else. But then when you start, experiencing people that who have been infected with this. I mean, look at what was it? The mayor of Whitby and her daughter. Mm-hmm. She had some not necessarily extreme symptoms, but her daughter was worse off than her. Like, her daughter had to spend time in the hospital. I'm not sure on a ventilator or not, but she's okay now. But it's in the beginning people were saying, well, this only affects people of elderly, and yeah, sure, the numbers state that the older you get, obviously the older you are, the more of an effect it'll have on you. And this is sparing children and young teens and young adults, if you will. But that's not the case. I mean, you're hearing people in their 20s, you're hearing people in their 30s, you're hearing people in their teens.
Yeah, and recently here in the state of Illinois, we had our first baby. I think in the whole United States died here.
Oh,
yeah.
Of COVID?
Yes, of COVID.
That's very sad. Yeah. I know. I think the things that just get me, I think, more than anything is when they say to you, okay, the police want to come in now, start stopping people and find out where you're going. Well, if you're just taking a drive, for instance, I'm sorry, you're just in your car by yourself or with your significant other, and you're taking a drive, because otherwise you'll go stir crazy and somebody's going to go postal somewhere doing this stuff, right?
It's inevitable.
So when you're going to that extreme, and I mean, we haven't really said, like, we're not really locking down everybody with a curfew yet, not here anyway, but they're pretty much, no, we're going to start closing things earlier and earlier and earlier. It's just like, okay, well, see, now government is mandating these things. They have to find out where you're going. See, I see something underlying going on. Why don't you want people out at night? The virus has no prejudice as to when it's going to hit.
Yeah.
Either keep everybody home, lock everything down, and do it right, or what? I don't understand why. Okay, but at 6 o'clock though, nobody can be around. Or no, you can't go for that drive, but you can take a walk. But you can't take that drive, even if it's just two of you in your own vehicle. You're not going anywhere but taking a drive, or if you're going to help a family member. Well, who justifies whether it's essential or not? Like if I'm going to help a family member that doesn't drive, and I've been quarantined for frickin' ever, amazing me, I haven't lost my mind, but, well, maybe a little bit, but, then I'm the one that's going to take care of that for another individual, or I want to go check on my house in Burlington that's up for sale. I got to check on it once in a while, right? I should be able to say, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. And now there's something that they're coming out with saying, well, if you all don't live at the same address, they can give you a hard time. Why? Because I haven't changed my address yet. Gee, I'm sorry. A, capital gains. I'm not changing my address so the house no belongs to me. And B, I don't know, Service Ontario is closed.
Yeah,
exactly. Can't even do anything online. So it's lose-lose.
I mean, you know what? And it's only going to get stricter.
Yes.
I think it's only a matter of time before, here in Canada, they invoke the Emergencies Act.
Martial law.
Well, here,
say it like it is.
I shared that with Gareth, and I don't think I posted it. I think, if anything, it might be on my Snapchat or my Facebook 24-hour story. But we received a notice for Chicago that they will be fining you. They had the discretion to fine you if they don't see you without a mask.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. This is real, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of BS, dude.
Yeah, this is what's happening. So
I would not, thankfully that has not rolled out in California
or
yet.
Canada. We get fined here, don't we, Steve?
I'm not happy with that.
We do get fined here as well in Canada or Ontario, don't we?
Well, I know Toronto is been the strictest so far, and it's, you know, fittingly, because I mean they have the most cases now. They're other than, you know, outside Toronto, I mean the cases aren't as bad, but I mean you know it's going to get to the point where, like, for instance, my wife, she drives her sister to work. Her sister takes the public transit to work, and she's an essential worker. And my wife's like, I don't want her taking public transit with all the crap going on. I'd feel safer if I gave her a lift, because my wife's off now because of this. Mm-hmm. So she has the time, and she says, "Look, I'd feel safer if my sister was, you know, picked up and driven to work," which makes sense. And what do you say? What do you say to, you know, to a cop who pulls you over because of that?
No, it's true.
Well, you're supposed to have, realistically, you're supposed to have a certificate from your work that says you're an essential worker.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm sure that's going to be coming.
Some places are providing.
Yeah, some places are providing them, but it hasn't become mandatory here yet.
In the worst case, let's say her sister says, "Yeah, I'm an essential worker," and they look at Lenore and say, "Well."
Well, that's what I mean, right? That's what I mean. You know, then what? You know,
and they say, help your neighbor who can't go out by themselves.
Yeah.
Or help a family member. Okay, so I go out, for example, to help a family member or a neighbor. Mm. So who determines then? Well, no, you can't just come out and do that.
Your peppers, please. Your peppers, please. Das Beperren, bitte.
I posted something today. Actually, there was a sheriff out of the U.S. who refused to, basically says, our police are not going to go out and start stopping people. We are, what was it, of the people, for the people? What's the saying? They're like, we're not going to do that. We're not Russia. We're not Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And I thought, you know what? Like, good for you.
That proves all cops aren't bad.
True.
No, but you know, it's what he's saying makes sense. But he doesn't want to risk his own officers either.
Depends on if you're wearing a Metallica shirt or not.
Yeah, we can go on about this all freaking night, I'm sure.
Sorry, Michelle. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. I was going to say we could go on about this. Like, we can go off into so many directions.
Oh, I know. True. And there's, again, like so many things, events that have unfolded in life, there have been so many conspiracy theories, if you will. But I mean, when you look at the situation unfolding here with this before our eyes, and I mentioned this, you know, it's amazing how things years ago were a conspiracy theory and now have become fact or reality. Yeah.
Wasn't there, I think in the beginning of February, I forget which day, but it was Thank a Conspiracy Theorist Day.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, you know, conspiracy theorists obviously get a bad rap, right? Yeah. Because the term conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist has lots of negative connotations, which was intentional, by the way.
Yes.
You know, we all have, if you're not a conspiracy theorist, you probably have a friend or a family member who is. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, for years you've been thinking, oh, that guy's mental, he's talking nonsense, he's out of his mind. And then all of a sudden, one day you'll say, oh my God, he was right.
Well, you know, it's funny. I hate saying the name, and, you know, he's had a bad rap over the last few years. But, you know, some of the stuff that even Alex Jones was reporting about years ago.
Let me stop you right there, Steve.
You know, it's like you're like, what the hell, man? Like,
It changed after the Obama deception.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he became more kind of, although he was kind of conservative already, he became more ultra conservative and leaning towards this weird, even on the Trump bandwagon. And as soon as he did that, I was like,
I was out of there. Yeah.
What? He's here to save us?
Yeah, there was a lot of people.
David Icke's.
David Icke, Mr. Reptilian.
He's 50-50, but you know what? At least he's got like the kahunas to get out there and at least say it.
I'm a big fan of David Icke. I think he's awesome.
Even if he's half right.
Is he a reptilian too?
No, think about this for a second. I told this to a friend a few years ago when he was getting on my case about what a mental case David Icke was.
Yeah.
I said, even if only 10% of what he says is true, there is some crazy bullshit going on in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Even if only 10% of what he's saying is real, we are living in a world that is way, way stranger than we ever thought it was.
Yeah. And
it's good that people think he's nuts because he'll live another year. Seriously, right? If
Nobody will believe this guy. Leave him alone.
No, I mean,
that's right. Otherwise, he goes like MIA somewhere or mysteriously gets hung by a doorknob, hangs himself on it.
I want to tell everyone, listening audience, if you do get the opportunity to see David Icke live, I would strongly recommend, even if you think he's a bit mental and he's crazy, I don't want to partake in his bullshit, go and see him live. You will be blown away. The guy gives 8 to 10 hour lectures. He will talk for 10 hours, and you'll sit there for 10 hours, and it will feel like 2.
Yeah,
because it's so information packed. It's amazing. I've seen him several times live, and every single time it's been amazing.
I notice he's got the same condition that David Ferrand had, or he's developing it. It's with his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's got arthritis. Yeah.
So it's a severe case of arthritis. It's got and it affects just the fingers, right?
I think his knees are messed up also.
Well, he was an ex-soccer player, isn't he?
Yeah, right.
Out of curiosity, why is it that people have such a hard time believing these people who put their lives on the line by coming out with some of this stuff? It's not all just about attention. They really are taking a chance. There are people who have been just like him, who have gone missing and been turned up dead. Why is it so easy for us to trust in governments that really don't give a hoot about us at the end of the day?
Because the masses believe that, the governments that lead you, they're there to trust. I mean, they're in place to trust. I mean, let's face it. I mean, from when we're reared as a kid to as we grow up and everything, obviously they're the ones that stray away from it and start to realize that, that's not the case. But for the majority, people like to believe in their government, in their politicians.
It's a comfort.
It's a comfort. Yeah. I mean, in times of
in the bubble, I guess.
I mean, look at now with this coronavirus. You like to believe that what they're doing is the right thing.
Yeah. Everyone has a worldview.
Yeah.
Everyone has a certain way. Everyone perceives how reality functions in a certain way, and it has to do with which part of the earth you're born in, your culture, your religion, your upbringing, and that forms your worldview on how reality functions, right? And when somebody comes up that contradicts your worldview, and they say things that contradict your worldview, you have an immediate emotional response to fight back against that. That's why a lot of times when you bring something up to somebody, well, look at the paranormal, look at ghosts. If you speak to a normal person, a normie, about ghosts, immediately they're rolling their eyes, shaking their head. You're out of your mind. Get out of my face. This is a bunch of nonsense.
Until they experience one.
You're whacked out of your skull. This is bullshit.
Well,
right? But they say all that without giving the subject a second's thought, without cracking open a single book, without reading a single paragraph, with doing zero research. They dismiss the entire subject instantly because they're having a remote emotional response because what you're saying is contradicting their worldview on how they perceive reality functioning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Comfortable within our
Well,
anything outside of that, not so much.
That spills into all aspects of life.
Everything.
Also, that spills into statism, that spills into religion, right? That spills into politics. Every aspect of your life, there's some form of mental conditioning that's gone on in your life to make you think that reality functions in a certain way. To chip away at that so you can perceive what may or may not be going on, or to even hold two contradictory thoughts in your mind at the same time, that's a challenge for most people.
Yeah.
Most people cannot see past that. That's why some people are virulently, I'm left wing, I believe in this, I believe in that, or I'm right wing, I believe in this, I believe in that. I'm right, you're wrong.
You know how to
when you have these stances where you're neither.
Gareth, you know how you can put this down in basic sort of format.
Sure, go ahead.
What's your mindset when you walk out the door in a bikini?
Cha-ching!
Cha-ching!
Thank you. It's not
think about what you're thinking, in this day and age if you walk out the door wearing a bikini or a dress, being a guy.
Oh, that's normal now.
Is it normal though? Is it? But it's not normal for you though, is it? You wouldn't walk out the door with a bikini or dress on, would you?
No,
but that's what I mean.
That's a good thing, though, right? Because
we're be in the good mood for that.
We're getting to the point in society, right, where that for years that kind of thing has been, verboten, but we're getting to the point in society now where people can do that.
Well, yeah, I get that, but your personal mind.
But it's.
Well played.
But think about this.
Would you feel comfortable? Let's put it this way. Would you feel comfortable walking out the door wearing a bikini or a dress?
No, I would not.
Exactly. So
but that's me.
Personally.
Not you. Exactly.
That's me.
That's the majority. You're in the majority,
right? But if somebody else chooses to do that, that's none of my business.
And they're in the minority. And they're in the minority.
It's none of my business.
No, I know that.
But it's not just how they dress. It's how people live their lives.
Well, exactly.
What people believe, what people think.
When do you open your mind?
It's none of my business.
When do you open your mind? I posted something recently, and I guess the article was written by a flat Earth theorist, and I got somebody asked me, well, "You're not a flat Earth believer, are you?" I'm like, "No, but it's irrelevant. It's like having somebody, let's say, who might be bad at one thing, maybe he's an atheist, and people are like, oh, well, we don't believe that he could be a good, let's say, astrophysicist because he doesn't believe in this. No, I don't believe in flat earth theory. It's my own personal belief, but it doesn't mean that this guy isn't good at something else or doesn't have, a valid point or thought on another topic, let's say. I think somewhere along the line, we have to just take a step back and look at things like that. Like, not everybody believes in ghosts. Well, I believe in a lot of things. I don't believe just in ghosts. I've seen ghosts, which is why I believe in them.
Well, no, that's the thing, though, Michelle. You don't believe in ghosts.
Shh. Of course I do.
No. Wait. Let me elaborate.
You're better.
You don't believe in ghosts. Because if you belief implies non-existence.
Oh, yes.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you, like, when you're sitting right now in front of your computer or your chair or in your house or wherever you are, you don't believe that you're sitting in a chair. You're sitting in a chair, right?
Correct.
So when somebody says, I believe in ghosts, you're implying that what your belief in doesn't exist. And you have to have faith to make it believe. So I would say to you, because you've experienced ghosts and you've experienced the paranormal and you've experienced it, you don't believe in ghosts at all. You don't believe they exist.
But can you
know they exist.
Somebody, I know ghosts exist. they'd be like, "Shut up."
But that's their problem, not yours.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying is, it's lose-lose. If you can't be arrogant enough to say, yes, that's the way it is, like, I've seen UFOs, but can I conclusively say I know it exists unless it's like hovering over my house? Like, won't lie. I think it's happened.
I think when it comes to those types of things, and a friend of mine, almost a mentor, taught me, it's like, if you're gonna take something away from someone, and in this case explaining some sort of belief, or I guess debunking a sort of belief, you need to replace it with something so that they can at least fill that in.
That's a good point, Justin. That's
process.
That's a really
easier to process that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's
so a lot of times, like earlier today, when we were talking earlier in the last hour, when we were talking about shadow people and stuff, I could sit here and say I don't believe, or I have no evidence of shadow people, but we scientifically have some sort of data recorded of what shadow people could be. So instead of telling someone it's not a ghost or something, I could do exactly what I said. Well, there's actually studies done that say, shadow people are these negative aspects of ourselves that we tuck away. Here's a behavior psychologist. You should read up on it, in that case, because I think that's the best way to handle these situations overall, where you could just totally be like, no, and then destroy everyone's belief.
Right.
And I've been in that position where I've seen people just, so it's like I had to do better in a sense, explaining these things, too. Even at one point, I didn't believe, in a sense, in the case of, I used to know, now I don't, and now I know of a possibility of what it could be. And that was when things kind of changed for me, for the most part, and especially in how I handle cases and dealing with people. All the time I bring up exactly my personal experiences, with talking about it. And, oh yeah, I've experienced this too, but it could be this, it's just not, what the case. And that's a big responsibility on ourselves if we are to take this as serious as we do,
Well, let me pick your brain on something, since I am amongst my peers here. I believe in dealing with belief systems. When you're working with somebody, clearing a house, doing whatever, I think we can all agree to disagree that it's potentially there are malevolent beings that could maybe be extraterrestrials. Fine line, right? Sure. Somebody, you have old biblical terms. Let's say demon would be what? Archon, Draconian, Reptilian. Okay. So do you believe that, knowing how people are, because I know some people that will say, nope, that was, this type of extraterrestrial, and there's no such thing as demons. Okay. And I agree that there's a very fine line. They're said to use the same portal. So maybe they're one of the two. But if I'm dealing with somebody, I have to, do you say to them, or do you say to them, no, they're religious, or they have some kind of a belief system in religion. Do you come right out and say, bam, it's this, because they're not going to get their head around it 9 times out of 10, or do you say, nope, it was definitely, the religious term? How would you go?
I think I experienced that with coming from. I've experienced people who consider themselves Wiccan to have paranormal activity in their house, and at first, the people who contact me already know that I'm more. I don't want to use the word skeptical, but I have a more logical. There we go. That should be the term that we use, anyways. A more logical stance at it. But in logical too, I'm open to other ideas, or I'm aware of mythologies and certain belief systems. So they already know where I stand, and most likely, if they've already gone through my at least month of remote observance, they kind of know what they're dealing with as it is. But when it does come to that point, you don't want to take it away. You offer these things, and I think more so now I've done it than I did in the past. But what I used to do, and this is what you have to do, and I think we actually kind of went over it a little bit in the show that Gareth had earlier this week. You kind of have to play into it, because at the same time, what we're dealing with are people's belief systems. So even
power, right?
Even
You don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to throw
So even
something at them that's
taking it
totally.
away, you're empowering it. Yes, you're empowering it in that sense, and at the same time, that's how you're going to deal. Because again, you mentioned that no matter what we do and what we believe as investigators or enthusiasts or observers ourselves, it doesn't matter. I could tell the person, oh, it's this, this, and this, and they're going to be. So at least give them that, but at the same time, go, well, here's some options and how you want to deal with it, and most definitely in some aspects you individually are that only option as well, so you have to be prepared to handle such situations when it comes to that. But yes, you do want to basically apply those beliefs in that case to handle those situations, because you literally could be destroying people's belief systems by introducing other ideas.
It seems to be easier for them to lean on, let's say, biblical terms because it's what they grew up around.
Of course.
I think if you try to, describe, for example, a big Draco or something to somebody, that's a whole other fear. They're never going to sleep.
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole right there to explain a whole hour or so.
I think Justin is 100% correct. I agree with him completely. You can't damage somebody else's belief system, or you can't attempt to kind of damage their belief in you even by attacking their belief system. I mean, whether their belief system is right or wrong is kind of irrelevant. If it's something they hold dear to themselves and something that helps them get through the day, and it's a source of strength against whatever phenomena they're facing, even if you don't believe that, even if you think it's all nonsense and what's really going on is this, you don't want to go down that path with them. You don't want to damage their faith in whatever faith they have, but also their faith in you, because you're there to help them.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
People are real touchy when it comes to religion and government, I find. You try to throw something else in the mix and it just goes downhill pretty quick.
And that's why it's so hard to investigate a person's property if that comes into play. No matter what you say, they tend to say, no, I don't believe that. You can't sway them away from their day-to-day beliefs. No matter what, you try to explain to them, 99% of what's going on is explainable through da-da-da. They don't believe that. They believe that, look it. My belief says, no, I think this is going on. And you try to rectify and say, look, no, this is actually what is really going on.
Well, when you even do, all that, and you are the person that they believe, a lot of groups don't even, go about it this way, but you are their only answer to these things. You have to be able to handle those situations one way or another when it comes down to it. Otherwise, you're wasting their time in the end, when dealing with this. And just being there is already helping them. Go ahead.
No, exactly. I agree. It's a start to finish. I mean, I've met, some people who've said to me that, they've been quoted astronomical amounts of money to come to their house. And on the same note, there's some people that feel that, no, it's not scary enough. Like, they're not, if it's just a standard haunting, it's just not good enough. I guess it doesn't have any show potential. I don't know. But, I mean, you have to go into every location putting the people first. It's not about what I think, what I believe. It's about what do they think? What do they believe? What's going to make them feel empowered enough to fight this? I mean, I've worked with people that I've never even met just by communicating to them, even online, and saying, try this, and this. And as soon as they change their way of thinking, I didn't say it. As soon as they change their way of thinking, it is amazing how they are no longer haunted.
Michelle, I'm losing money here. You need to start using that term, please.
We're just going to have to put more money on the line.
We had a case several years ago of a woman with 3 children who was having some activity in her home. We came out and we looked into the situation. And basically, it was she was crying out for help simply because she was being physically abused by her boyfriend.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot to get that out of her. But what she was telling us was just incredible. Like, I mean, all this stuff that was supposedly going on in the house. It was manufactured in her mind, and she thought it was real. She thought it was.
That's horrible.
I know it's incredibly.
That's a horrible story.
It's incredibly horrible.
She wasn't PKing. She was just like truly believed this.
She because of the physical abuse that she was receiving from her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She backed up into a shell.
Wow.
And started believing that what was going on to her was actually paranormal phenomena.
Wow.
That's terrible.
And when we came out there, and thankfully when we had, at the time, we had somebody who was well-versed with counseling in abuse, we managed to help her and help her break away from this, thankfully.
Wow.
And things got better for her, thankfully. But I mean, but this is what I mean. This is like, how do you tell somebody who's being abused, in this case, being abused and thinking it is paranormal activity, and essentially crying out for help, and her crying out for help is telling people that she's experiencing all sorts of sort of weird phenomena in the house.
Well, in something like that, when you determine that there's nothing paranormal going on there, she's just got a dirtbag boyfriend who's beating the shit out of her.
Yeah.
You have to step in,
and we did.
You have to belief system to go to hell.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about somebody's well-being. You have to step in and do something to kind of ease that. That's a horrible story, Steve. Jesus.
It is horrible, but it's the reality, Gareth. It's the reality of what we have to deal with, and people don't understand that. I mean, this is what we have to deal with. And
this is why it's not just a hobby.
It's not a hobby. I mean, people are crying out for help, and they don't know where to go.
The majority of cases have been someone basically suffering from some trauma, some stress.
Yes.
One case, a woman, she was working almost 100 hours a week for her own business, trying to get everything together. I believe it was in Crystal Lake. Doesn't matter, but she was doing this and was seeing all sorts of hearing all sorts of sounds, seeing shadow people, and whatnot. Just like the case earlier was also some sort of trauma, dealing with her husband being gone, having to deal with the kids and dealing with their own experiences, and even many cases was a family member dying, a woman's son. When I had them record and take notes, she would send me recordings of her son. And this is really one of many cases like that, a woman sending recordings of a child, that died recently. And, you have to sit there and listen, and, you may not hear something, but this is real to them. She's, I've heard her on the recording crying, she's being open with me to send this. And of course, I'm glad I'm not, this is, between the case here and whatnot, but she is open to share these things with me or anyone who's interested in that case, and hopefully finding some answer. And really, in the end, it's just her trying to cope. Look what I'm dealing with. This is my son. He's gone. I miss him. And so on. And you have to be able to understand that and not just like, oh, it's a ghost. We need to jump on that and get our equipment out and whatnot.
Sad. That's horrible.
It is horrible. And you know what? Some of these cases that I've dealt with, and I'm sure maybe Justin has and Michelle has, it breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And this is why you really have to determine when you're going in. And I know when it comes to investigations and dealing with people in a sort of a pre-investigative interview, to determine what could be at play here. Alcohol abuse, drugs, whatever. I mean, things like that are important to rule out before you go into the situation. And when we did the pre-investigative interview with this woman, none of that was present. I mean, we didn't know that she was dealing with abuse. Mm-hmm. We did not know. And then when we come out to the house thinking that we're going to investigate some paranormal phenomenon, the woman who was working with us at the time was able to pick up right away that there was something unusual, and it was not paranormal. It was the way she was behaving was a sign of her being abused. And she sat down with her for a good half an hour to an hour, talking to her and telling her to basically let it out. If you need help, we're here to help you. Yeah. We will help you in any way we can. But you have to let us know. Because we're here under the assumption that we're here to investigate paranormal phenomena. If there's something else going on that you would like to tell us, you need to tell us. And she laid it out on the line. Mm-hmm. And if we weren't there, and who knows what would have happened after that. Mm-hmm. We basically made the guy leave the house.
Jeez.
We told the guy, leave the house. She does not want you here. Leave the house. We called the authorities in.
That's great. That's great that you were that link. To be honest,
we had to be. We had to be.
Yeah.
We could not leave her house and let the abuse continue.
That's a good point, because I just was watching a documentary, and I've been checking out all the comments and everything that's being left by the people involved on their social network. And there was a point in the documentary where a woman was claiming some extreme cases of basically missing children and stuff. And them themselves continued their research just about the paranormal claims, but added that point into the documentary. And someone mentioned, well, how come you didn't go further with investigating these claims of missing people, or in even some cases child sacrifice? And they said that's not in our area. But to me, I think that's totally in our area, because we are trying to understand the claims being made on a broad. It's not just ghosts, just as we're saying now. We're dealing with people's coping and depression and abuse in some aspects. And again, we are that only option to that only leg, that only hand out there to help someone.
Exactly.
So if we do run into these, you should be able to call the authorities if you need to. You're there. You should investigate. All the evidence is there. If you say, oh, no ghosts here, you don't stop there. You don't. You got to keep going.
This is something that you need to be equipped with. You really do. I mean, you are dealing with people's mental health here.
It's a lot, yes.
A huge amount of it is dealing with people's mental health.
I had to cut down on my Messenger before. When Facebook originally started, the first 4 years or so, when it was really collecting, people were getting on there, I was constantly on my Messenger. They have people sending me stuff and whatnot, and this is roughly about a decade ago. So when I first started, I had to cut it out. It was too much. It really was too much to listen to all these stories and how involved, and I had to, sit there and sort through, who I was going, what I was going to answer and stuff, because when you're taking this seriously, you have to be ready to take on the floodgates, and at times it is overwhelming. You can't answer every call, you can't help everybody, but you got to do your best the way you can. And
everybody has a story to tell as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I get about 100 private messages a day just on on Facebook and
Of
probably
course,
1,000
yep.
plus notifications. And okay, let's eliminate all the chain emails or messages. Then I really try to be gracious and answer as many people as I can. And I try to explain, I can't chat because I have many people I try to get back to, and I want to acknowledge, thank them for the support, everything else. And then the conversations keep going because everyone has a story, and I'm appreciative of that. And I'm like, I appreciate them all. But you're right. When do you say, oh God, I can't keep up?
Yeah.
I'm one person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who do you miss in the meantime?
Yeah. It's hard. It really is, especially when you are that last hope for a lot of people. No one else is listening, and you're there. And I think that's the best what we can do as us talking about this, because I don't even hear what we're talking about half the time. Taking it as serious. I don't. You listen to other podcasts, and it's usually someone talking about their new book, or oh my God, we made this documentary, and this is the footage we caught, and so on. This is the real nuts and bolts to what we're in the thick like this. So us talking about this is what helps, and hopefully.
Well, think about how bad it must be for somebody that their only means for getting help is to make up some shit about a ghost.
True,
yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, their only lifeline to kind of get them out of their shitty relationship or whatever's going on is to make up some stories of a ghost to get a paranormal group in to kind of rescue them from their nightmare existence.
The thing is, Gareth, with her, she was making it up though.
She believed it.
She believed what was going on. It was so abusive that her mind snapped into thinking
that it was real.
It is real because let's look at the poltergeist activity and in certain aspects of where the heart is. It's usually someone dealing with some extreme sense or going through some sort of trauma at that time.
Right.
Of course, I have no true evidence of this, but based off all the things I've read and all the valid cases in some aspects, this is what it is. And maybe these things induce some aspects, or maybe negative energy, spirits, demons, etc., could be attracted to such things. And in order for that to stop, you kind of have to we need to help you.
Well, usually
this is
you
why
solve
exorcism
the issue, and the poltergeist activity stops. Right then, self-projected energy. I think the one good thing about these shows, I've noticed even with my own radio show, it's really, you inform people. Because they just go based on what they're seeing on television, and a lot of that is, let's face it, you can film for hours, and a lot of it ends up on the cutting room floor, or it's over embellished, and meanwhile the real story is even better, but whatever. But I think with radio, it's given me the opportunity to bring on people that will. I don't have all the answers. I'm happy to answer questions and cover topics, and I try to bring on people who will, talk about what they're good at, open up people's minds a little bit, and let them know what they should or shouldn't be doing, and who they should be working with or shouldn't be working with. There are a lot of researchers out there who are more interested in getting that one EVP. They leave the family behind. They don't care about the people that are involved, and yet there are others who are totally the other way. It's just filtering out, the good from the bad.
So I have
even when you have a spirit crying for help, you go on that EVP and you walk away. What is that?
Yeah.
I have a comment, then I have a question for you, Steve. Comment would be in regard to situations like this where there's somebody who's clearly being abused, probably by a partner or a family member or insert person here. But there might be paranormal phenomena involved, and the thing that while you guys were talking about this, things that popped into my head were the DeFeo murders in Amityville, right, where he went with a gun and killed his entire family.
DeFeo,
right, the DeFeo.
He was abused.
Well, he was abused, but it also ties into is there something paranormal going on here that would drive somebody to do those horrific acts?
An attachment?
An attachment or a possession or who knows what? that kind of pushes somebody down that path. And my question for you, Stephen, in that case where you had the unfortunate girl who was being abused by her piece of shit boyfriend, when you were investigating that case, did you or any of your team members get any paranormal phenomena and or feelings and or evidence at all?
None.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next story.
No, but I look at it this way, and I look at some say you look at somebody who is who has multiple personalities, if you will, who is deemed psychologically screwed up, if you will, like just to the point of no return, and there are many people who seem to think that these people, often talk to themselves or whatever else, essentially are able to patch into something for real, and that we deem it as being psychotic or crazy or whatever else, but these people are actually really experiencing something
really
going on.
Yeah.
May it be brought on by something very traumatic that's happened in their life, under unbelievable amount of stress, and they just snap. There's all sorts of variations, and this is something we don't know about the human brain. We just don't. We're on the tip of the iceberg in trying to understand the function of the brain.
Well, it's not so much the brain. The brain has been mostly, not completely, but mostly mapped out.
Yeah, well, it's been mapped out.
The big question mark here is not so much the brain,
consciousness,
but consciousness.
Yeah, consciousness. Yeah,
that's what we don't understand.
Yeah,
we have no clue what causes consciousness.
Yeah,
we have no clue what consciousness is.
Yeah,
we have no clue where consciousness is even based in the body. We don't know where it is.
Yep.
I mean, it's in my head. No, not necessarily. We have no idea. Consciousness is just one big, massive question mark.
Exactly.
We have no clue what consciousness is.
Now, people who experience a quote-unquote a paranormal occurrence, is that because your consciousness or their consciousness is patched into that sort of realm?
I think so. I think that all of this, everything that we've talked about tonight in regard to the phenomena, has to do with consciousness and how it interfaces with reality.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what it is. Because we don't even know what consciousness is. We don't even know what reality is, right? When we look around, we see this room, we're sitting in this room in front, everything seems very real and everything's here, but we don't know that, right? Everything that we experience in reality, we experience through five senses.
Is that
and what is that? All the five senses we experience, all that is electrical impulses going on in the brain.
See,
for all we know, you're a brain in a jar somewhere.
That's when we start talking about the metaphysical world.
Right?
That's when we start talking about Madame Blavatsky. And we can get into that in 0 point energy. There's all sorts of stuff that we can dive into when we want to go down that road.
Well, there's some real things, like you're explaining, and there is some real understanding, like we were talking about earlier. Basically, what we're explaining when it came down to does the tree make a sound when no one's there is the observer effect.
Yes,
and we have a real scientific study of it.
Yes,
and all things as freaky as the observer effect is, it's the most logical explanation of why certain things are happening, and we really have to take that into consideration when we're looking. There's logical explanations to what we are experiencing, and we don't have the shows that tell us this. So that's another good reason why it's great for us to talk about that. But that, again, that's what we're being more diverse than our toolkit is, because what we're dealing with in consciousness is frequency, and we see all things. We see consciousness right in this. We see consciousness in our tablet. It's just a frequency going in, giving these things life, and that's the best we know overall. And if we are to look at any information that's totally valid, and that's at least scientific, and that's why we have to push at least logical scientific understandings. The most research that we've done with any paranormal event, and it has been in a study of parapsychology, is that most experiences are psychic in nature. And this is valid now. This is not, we haven't proved ghosts, but we proved psychic awareness, psychic ability, psychic phenomena
for sure.
more than we proved.
Justin, how many times have we gone over talking about frequency?
Yeah.
And how it is vital when it comes to understanding the paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I see it as tuning in, like even in the idea of the psychic awareness, we're just tuning in. We're really just a magnetic component and everything. You know, a magnetic receiver. Yeah, I mean that's all it is. We have electricity running through our body.
If we're a receiver and we're receiving a transmission, where does the transmission come from?
That's the
Big Bang.
Big question. That's the question.
That's the question.
That's the question. And that's the question why we need to have a 4-hour show on this.
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
See, for crying out loud, like usual, we get into the meat and bones of things near the end of the show. We're out of time, guys, and I really want to do this again, and I want to talk about frequency. I want to go down that road again, Justin.
No problem.
And I want to know how much money you guys made on me saying mindset.
No, thanks. That's another $15 right there.
It's
nice
between
one.
Steve and Gareth right now.
Cross-border bartering.
Just for you, bonus round.
Thank you.
Now,
drinks all around.
Guys, Michelle, get your information out there for people who want to find you.
Well, just find me under my own name, MichelleDesrochers.com. You can go to Canada's Most Haunted. You can find me on The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, to which Steve will be on at the end of the month. Woohoo! I think. Steve and Alex, yep. So we're going to have more bantering. That'll be fun. So
Are we going to have to do the social distancing thing, though?
Yeah, we might have to do the Skype thing. We might have to patch in through New Orleans. We do syndicate, to the URP. PRN Network Talk Radio. Yeah. Sorry, Joe. I'm brain tooting. But otherwise, it would be in studio at 4680Q.
Cool.
But as long as we're under lockdown, so to speak, so are they. So, it'll be probably this way.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun. It will be fun.
Always.
Gareth, go for it.
You can reach me or find me at mindsetcentral.com. That's where I do a weekly podcast, the Mindset Podcast. Had a great one this morning. Justin was on the show. And also, we did a great show last week, myself, Justin, and Steve, on paranormal belief. Why do some people believe in it and others don't? So part 1 is also currently available on mindsetcentral.com, and part 2 is coming very soon.
Check it out, guys. It was fun. I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
We got a lot of part 2s right
now. Justin, get your stuff out there, bud.
Yeah, you can find me, obviously, Justin Villereal on Facebook or the anonymousradionetwork.net. And, of course, if that's hard to spell or understand, find me on Twitter at LCGH or CrazyJ82. And it has everything all there.
Gord?
I'm just here. I show up occasionally. Time. Thanks for having me.
It's always you gotta have Gord here, for crying out loud. I mean, God, the place would be empty without Gord.
It's true.
Thanks for joining us, bud.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Much.
All right, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next Sunday night, and hopefully Alex is back. Will be better. And
I miss him.
Yeah.
Keep him out of the garden.
Wait a second. He was quiet tonight, wasn't he? Until next week, guys. Take care, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
I know.
Night.
You are listening to Nocturnal Radio, hosted by Steve, Jenny, and